So I was gonna wear this shirt for the review because, you know, the whole shark thing, it was topical, but nah, movie, you don't deserve the Jaws shirt. Great White is brought to us by director Martin Wilson and stars Katrina Bowden, Kimi Tukakashi, Aaron Jakubenko, and Tim Kano. When a married couple charter a seaplane to take them to a secluded island, they come across a grisly sight. After coming to the conclusion that this carcass that they found is from a shark attack, they go looking for the boat that these human remains came from. Through a course of events, the plane ends up crashing into the ocean, and now we are left with our 5 stars in a life raft in shark-infested waters. And hey, what do you know? They were right. There was a shark attack, and now that killer shark, being a great white, is hot on their tail. So as they drift out to sea, they have to figure out a way to get back to civilization, survive the night, and more importantly, survive the Great White. Great White is a shark movie that aspires to dethrone the king of all shark movies still till this day, Jaws. Now I'm gonna say right here out the gate, it doesn't do that. Now that's not to say that the movie's utter trash, but it sure as hell ain't Jaws. It ain't even The Shallows. It ain't even Deep Blue Sea, the first one. What it is a moderately entertaining, low budget, fairly slow burn of a shark movie. First and foremost, the shark. We don't really get a lot of glimpses of the shark. Now what we've learned from Jaws is that that's okay. That can actually heighten the thrills. That can make it better if you don't see the monster that often. The problem is when we do see the shark, at times, it don't look that great. And I don't mean like Rubber Shark in the Ocean Bruce from Jaws don't look that great. I mean like bad CGI don't look that great. The thing about Jaws and its Rubber Shark in the Ocean, the reason it works is because it is a real thing. Does it always look 100% real? No. I mean, it looks pretty damn good. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I still say that Bruce the Shark from Jaws still looks really damn convincing and good. But the thing that will trump all other shark movies is that even though it's not perfect, we can tell because, you know, our eyeballs and being humans and smart, well, to a degree usually, that is a real thing in the water that is interacting with the actors. We know that this is a movie. We know that it's all fantasy, but it doesn't change the fact that that heightens our fear because that is a real thing in that water that can get someone. It might be a big puppet or a robot or whatever you want to call it, but it ain't CGI. When it comes to other movies with these CGI sharks, regardless of how good they look, we know instinctively that thing, that shark that we're seeing on screen, not only is it not real, it's not even there. It literally does not exist within the world. Bruce the Rubber Shark, while not as nimble as these CGI variants, does exist and is a real thing in the world. This evokes a primal fear within us as human beings. We see this, we know it's real, we perceive a greater threat with that. That threat we don't really get in this movie. Now there are some scenes of what might be stock footage of real sharks in the movie, but the vast majority of the shark action we see is CGI. Now seeing as how they clearly didn't have the budget to have some quality CGI shark action going on, for the most part we really don't see them. We see some fins and some tails and stuff like that. And that stuff I do think is real. Those are real fins and tails flapping around in the water. And these parts of the movie are very effective. Even though we only see the fin or the tail or something like that, these are very effective parts because they're real things in the water. But when a CGI clip art shark jumps out of the water and bites a fucking plane and that is what causes it to sink to the bottom of the ocean, you gotta understand that I'm not really fearful of it in that moment. I'm actually kind of chuckling on the inside a little bit. Really, that happens in this movie, and that part alone is kind of groan-inducing. When that happened, I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Thankfully, most of the parts are not as bad as that. That is a particularly bad-looking shot that is fairly important and kind of near the beginning, so it does put a bit of a bad taste in your mouth for this whole shark thing from the get-go. But giving credit where credit is due, the rest of the movie does do better with its shark action. We get a good bit more of the sharks and underwater scenes closer to the end of the movie, and I will say that the CGI of these sharks underwater is loads better than it is when they come out of the water. Doesn't change the fact that we still know that these are CGI, they're not real, these people are not really interacting with this thing. But it does look better than that shit that we saw closer to the beginning of the movie. Also, there is a part closer to the end of the movie that they use a shark that might have been real world, or at least parts of it. I kind of couldn't tell. But they don't use it often, and if it was an actual made real world prosthetic shark head that they used, they don't use it a lot. Now, I wasn't expecting much in the performance department from this movie, and it didn't disappoint in that regard. The performances aren't like absolute trash or anything. Actually, for the most part, they're better than I expected. But there are a couple of parts of overacting. But for the most part, these people are here to look scared and swim away from sharks really fast and scream, and that's what they do. The story does try and inject a bit of personal drama so that we get a bit more attached to some characters, but it doesn't really do a very good job there. You more or less look at all of these characters as what they are, shark food. Now, that being said, I will say that the movie does have a lot lower body count than I was expecting from a movie called Great White. The movie is also a lot less gruesome than I expected it to be, seeing as how it's unrated. Now, this movie was a bit of a slow burn, and that's okay. It's people in a raft kind of trying to stay away from a shark for a while. I'm cool with that. But when we get to the end, we need that big shark death ending that all good shark movies have. That's what we, the audience, want. And we get it, kinda, but it's not quite as big as the movie thinks it is. Honestly, the end of this movie was a bit unsatisfying. We get what we want, I guess, but not the way that we want. Instead of ending on that whole fuck yeah moment that we're hoping for, it's more of a ending. Yeah, ultimately what we wanted to happen happens, I guess, but not really the way we wanted. It's just not terribly exciting. And unfortunately, that is where the movie fell for me overall, was just kind of It was okay. It's kind of like, I wouldn't mind it if it was playing in the background, I guess. It didn't really do much for me. It didn't add anything to the genre. I'm not really gonna remember it much in like a week or two. Guys, pretty much like every other shark movie that's come out since Jaws, Great White just doesn't quite stack up. Sadly though, beyond even that, it doesn't even quite stack up to the movies that have come since Jaws. It lacks the tension and the excitement of something like The Shallows, and it doesn't have that over-the-top kind of zany craziness of something like The Meg or Deep Blue Sea. It's got some acting, the story overall is kind of as well, and the effects for the most part are okay, but there are a few glaring moments that are pretty bad. Overall, the experience is just kind of So if you're just like really into shark movies, then at best check this one out on streaming.
Across the street.
I did have high hopes for this movie because Jaws is one of my favorite films of all times, and overall I just like shark movies. Unfortunately though, like most shark movies that come out, this one just didn't quite do it for me. But if you're looking for just a kinda okay shark movie for the night, then check out Great White and you'll have a time, I guess. So there it is, guys, my review of Great White. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Newcastle. There's something that this movie does that really annoys me about shark movies. And it's not just this movie, it's pretty much all shark movies with the exception of Jaws. There always comes a part in these movies where our characters are like stranded in the ocean or around some water knowing that sharks are out there. And they'll always just be like laying right next to the water, like on a raft or something. In this movie, they're like laying there with their arm hanging in the water or just like literally inches away from the fucking water. And this is after this fucking shark has like jumped out of the water and capsized this giant lifeboat at one point earlier the night before. But they're just cool with it, just kind of sitting there like right there in the water and just like, oh well, you know, not just, it's whatever, I'm cool, you know, just chilling right here, spritzing myself with this fucking water with a goddamn killer shark in it. You've got me fucked up. If I'm in this fucking life raft and there's a goddamn shark over there that's been like capsizing us and eating everybody and just wreaking carnage on us, my ass is in the middle of that motherfucker as far away from the fucking water as I can get. These motherfuckers deserve to get eaten that sit there on the edge just kind of like draping their arm in the fucking water. It's not just this movie either. A lot of them do it. Like people will just be sitting there with like one leg hanging down, like breathing hard, like like they just got out of the fucking water and got away from the shark, but your fucking foot's still in the water. What the fuck? If I got out of the goddamn water in one of these fucking movies and a shark had just been like chasing me or swimming after me, whatever you want to call it, I would literally get as far away from that fucking water as I could. Especially when you got fucking sharks that jump out of the goddamn water and tip your ass the fuck over. Get away. You deserve to fucking die.